G'day. We're here in northern New South Wales, the Tweed Valley, in beautiful Australia. We're going to have a chat about something on the other side of the world, Sturgis, and in particular the Sturgis Jewelry Company. It's a brief history of how we got into it, what we're doing. I'm here with my dad, John Willers.
G'day, mate.
G'day. And I'm Saul. We've been doing jewellery for quite a while, and it's all thanks to this marvellous man. It's been a long journey to get to the Sturgis Jewelry Company. Tell us a little bit about where it all started.
It all started in Vancouver in 1973, the year after Lorraine and I were married. We moved to Vancouver, and I'd been playing around with copper wire over that winter, but I ran into a bloke only a month or so after we arrived in Vancouver who had all the equipment to as a hobby, caster. I'd never done any casting or wax carving, but he said, we'll set up a studio and we'll take it from there. Well, we did that, and it was 5 minutes from my back door, and he went back to study at university, so I had all his equipment for about 5 months, and I took to it like a duck to water. Was what I was meant to do, and pretty soon, within a month, I was making jewellery I was selling, and that went from there. And Lorraine and I lived in Vancouver for 5 years, moved to Australia, and I was, we were always selling the jewellery, and she had helped me a lot in the workshop when she also had her own job, and then down the track, the bikers in Australia discovered I could make the things they liked. And I did a few shows in Sydney, and I made more money than I was making in all the other shows I was doing. And as long as you've had the money to pay the rent, you were allowed in. It was a beauty. There was no juried shows to make sure you were good enough or whatever. And I said to Lorraine, "Come on, we're going back to North America because the biker crowd there is so much bigger." And that's when you and Joanna were little, and it was in 89. 88 we moved back to British Columbia, and I went up and down the west coast and discovered what Sturgis was, and arranged to be there in the 49th annual rally in 89.
Right, so 89 was the first time.
Right, first time, and
you made it to Sturgis.
Right, and we've had a presence in this town ever since.
Mm-hmm. So the 49th was before it all went crazy in the 50th, so the 49th you were
at Buffalo Chip,
outside of town at Buffalo Chip.
And
how was that?
It was an experience, and sometimes it was very funny. It was tedious because it was dusty and hot. It was. We made a few dollars, and so we were quite happy with the whole thing. But business was from 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning, and everybody was pretty fucked up on something or other. So the only way to stay on their wavelength was to get in the same condition. Thank heavens Lorraine wasn't a serious drug taker or drinker, so she watched me. Yeah.
And so that was the first experience at Sturgis, which then made you want to come back, I guess.
Yes, yeah. That's at the end of that rally, I went into town and arranged for a spot outside what was super duper the supermarket right in the middle of town. It's not there anymore. Well, the building is, but
for what would be the 50th.
And nobody had any idea what the 50th was going to be like.
Mm.
But it was mind-boggling. I'll digress with a little story from Buffalo Chip, because once everything started to happen, this bloke came we're in front of the stage, and there was about 15, 20 vendors at the most, and this guy set up right beside us. He came on his bike, and a friend came along with 2 bottles of nitrous oxide and a box of balloons. And he was selling a balloon full of nitrous oxide for $2. And people were lined up all night until he ran out. They were falling over. It was hilarious. And I got to know this guy, and one evening he gives me a special cookie. And I munch on that, and he goes over to Lorraine, my wife, and he says, look, watch him, because I just gave him a cookie and he'll start to give things away. Watch him. So not long after that, I cut a deal for a couple, but I hadn't given it away. But they came back, and I was busy, and they gave her a joint and said, "Give this to your old man. He gave us such a good deal." Of course, Lorraine says, "Oh God, he is giving stuff away." Yeah, but it was like that. There's just so many funny things go on at Sturgis because everybody's there to have a party.